Hello, and welcome back to Scary Shanon. If you are new to this channel, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos. There is no reliable estimate for how many serial killers are on the loose today. Still, the authorities and various other sources inform us that there are as many as 50 serial killers operating today. Someone who kills 3 or more people is generally called a serial killer. They usually kill for abnormal psychological satisfaction. The most common motives to kill include sexual conduct with the victim, but also anger, attention-seeking, thrill-seeking, and financial gain. The murderers usually have their style of killing, and victims probably have something in common like gender, race, demographic profile, or appearance. The FBI believes that under 1% of all unsolved murders are the work of serial killers. Meanwhile, Thomas Hargrove of the Murder Accountability Project thinks that as of 2019, the US alone had something like 2,100 unidentified serial killers running around. Author and former police detective Michael Arntfield thinks that the number could be as high as 4,000. Obviously, we have no way to know for sure which of these undiscovered serial killers are most terrifying, because, well, they haven't been caught yet. Still, we definitely do know about some of them, and what we know is pretty scary. Let's take a look at these serial killers who may still be on the loose. The Highway of Tears may be the hunting ground of serial killers. Smithers, British Columbia. Less than a year after her 15-year-old cousin vanished, Delphine Nicole, 16, was last seen hitchhiking from this isolated northern Canadian town on a spring morning in 1990. Ramona Wilson, 16, a member of her high school baseball team, left home one Saturday night in June 1994 to attend a dance a few towns away. She never arrived. Her remains were found 10 months later near the local airport. Tamara Chipman, 22, disappeared in 2005, leaving behind a toddler. "She's still missing," Gladys Raddick, her aunt, said. "It'll be 11 years in September." Dozens of Canadian women and girls, most of them Indigenous, have disappeared or been murdered near Highway 16, a remote ribbon of asphalt that bisects British Columbia and snakes past thick forests, logging towns, and impoverished Indian reserves on its way to the Pacific Ocean. So many women and girls have vanished or turned up dead along one stretch of the road that residents call it the Highway of Tears. A special unit formed by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police officially linked 18 such cases from 1969 to 2006 to this part of the highway and 2 connecting arteries. More women have vanished since then, and community activists and relatives of the missing say they believe the total is closer to 50. Almost all the cases remain unsolved. The Highway of Tears and the disappearances of the Indigenous women have become a political scandal in British Columbia. But those cases are just a small fraction of the number who have been murdered or disappeared nationwide. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police have officially counted about 1,200 cases over the past 3 decades. But research by the Native Women's Association of Canada suggests the total number could be as high as 4,000. Despite multiple searches, Miss Wilson, a single mother of 6 who is now 65, said there was no sign of Ramona until she had been gone for 7 months. When Miss Wilson received an anonymous phone call telling her that the girl's body was near the airport, police officers searched the area but found nothing, she said. In April 1995, Two men riding all-terrain vehicles by the airport discovered Ramona's remains buried under some trees. Plastic flowers and a glass cross now decorate her grave in a Smithers cemetery, few blocks from Miss Wilson's tidy trailer park home. "We want closure, and we're not going to give up," Miss Wilson said as she swept leaves from her daughter's gravestone. One recent afternoon, three young sisters and their female cousin were walking across the Morristown Indian Reserve, which is next to the highway. When asked about the Highway of Tears, one of the women, Rochelle Joseph, an unemployed 21-year-old, said the sisters never hitchhiked because they grew up hearing about the victims, including their cousin. Still, the menace of the highway haunts their lives. The monster of Florence is an Italian mystery killer. What's worse than one serial killer? The possibility that there might be more than one. Such is the case with the monster of Florence, who Encyclopedia Britannica tells us started his reign of terror in 1968 and continued until 1985. It is a cold case that after 50 years still haunts Italy today, an epic travesty of justice shrouded in mystery and deception. The case, known in Italy and internationally as the Monster of Florence, involved the ritualistic murder of 8 young couples in the country lanes around Florence in the 1980s. 4 Italians, 2 French and 2 German nationals were killed, and in most cases, the sexual organs of the female victims were mutilated, cut out, and taken away from the scene of the crimes as fetishes. The hunt for the monster was a long one, and tens of thousands of men were viewed as potential suspects. The husband of the first victim was actually convicted for the murder and received a 14-year prison sentence, though the killings soon resumed. In 1994, the investigators finally believed they had their man in the form of a drunken, violent farm worker called Pietro Pazziani. His conviction was promptly overturned, but soon afterward, the police discovered a witness who claimed that Pazziani and a number of accomplices had in fact been killing people at the behest of a devil-worshipping doctor and other masterminds. Pazziani died before his second trial, though 2 of his apparent accomplices were eventually convicted. The evidence against them was shoddy at best. As such, some people who are extremely familiar with the case, such as crime journalist Mario Espezzi, believed in 2006 that the true monster of Florence, or perhaps monsters, was still out there, and seeing as he still hasn't been caught, might still be. The complex case of the Frankford slasher. It's been nearly 30 years since the Frankford slasher terrorized Philadelphia, killing at least 8 women whose murders still remain a mystery. Decades later, police are re-examining existing DNA evidence that could, finally, lead to solving the case. The Frankford killing spree dominated headlines from 1985 to 1990. With a serial killer on the loose, North Philadelphia residents were always on the lookout, according to Walt Hunter, a longtime city reporter who covered the slayings. The people who lived in Frankford would find themselves suspiciously looking at the person next to them or coming down the street. Hunter, who retired after decades with KYW-TV, said in an interview, "You had a predator with a sixth sense of the vulnerabilities of these women." All the victims were similar, white women who frequented bars along 3 specific blocks of Frankford Avenue between Wakeling and Bridge Streets. Each victim was sexually assaulted and stabbed to death. Philadelphia police identified a possible suspect, a middle-aged white man who called himself a minister. He disappeared sometime after investigators questioned him, but not before a DNA sample was taken. That sample is currently being compared to DNA from the various victims using technology that was not available in 1990, police said. Despite those efforts, it's too late for Leonard Christopher, a man who was arrested and convicted of murdering 46-year-old Carol Dowd in 1990. Her disemboweled body was found in an alley behind a fish market where Christopher worked. She was the 8th woman who died in a way consistent with homicides associated with the Frankford slasher. Christopher was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. This is a man who spent the majority of his life in a prison cell for a crime that he did not commit, Bluestein said. In a way, that bothered him more than the fact that his freedom had been taken away. Christopher eventually died from cancer behind bars. Not only was Miss Dowd never given justice because her murderer was never found and caught, but the other 8 women, those murders are still unsolved, Bluestein said. An ever-elusive bunch, serial killers are perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon of modern life. While there are many serial killers out hunting today, it's comforting to know that the killers featured in this video aren't hiding out in your neighborhood. If you enjoyed watching this video, then don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we upload a new scary video. Be attentive and always check behind you to see if someone's following you. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.